Hello and welcome to Sew with Christine. In today's tutorial, I'll be showing you how to make this gorgeous dress with multiple Ankara patchwork. So if you're interested in knowing how I made this dress, why not watch this video to the end? Do not skip any parts so you will not miss out on important details. Before we proceed to the drafting, I would like you to subscribe to my channel, do like this video and share to your friends and families, and turn your notification bell on so whenever I post new tutorials, you'll be the first to be updated. Here is the fabric that I'll be using for this dress. It is a stretchy one. You can make use of a stretchy fabric or any other fabric of your choice. But for this tutorial, I'll be making use of this stretchy material. So I'll start by marking out my starting point. I'll be using about ½ inch for that. And on that starting point line, I'm going to mark the half shoulder width, that's 7 inches. Then from the half shoulder width, I'll come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope. From the center front, this is the front part. So from the center front, I'm going to mark 3 inches for the neck width. Then I'm going to connect the neck width to meet with the shoulder slope. Afterwards, I'm going to mark down the neck depth. I'm using 3 inches for the neck depth. So once I'm done marking that, I'm just going to connect the neck width to meet with the neck depth. From the shoulder slope, I'm going to come down by 7 inches. This 7 inches is the armhole depth. From the center front, I'm going to measure the half shoulder width to meet with this. Then I'm going to connect this point so that I can have my armhole depth line. After that, I'm going to take the quarter bust measurement. The quarter bust measurement is 10 inches, but I'll be making use of 9 since this is a stretchy fabric. So I'm just going to mark that here. After marking, I'm going to divide the armhole depth line by 2. So I'm going to mark the midpoint, which is 3.5 inches. From the 3.5 inches, I will go inward by 0.5 inch. Then I'm going to connect this way. Once I'm done connecting this, I'm going to go ahead and mark all the horizontal lines. So from this starting point here, I'm going to come down to measure the bust point line, the under bust line, the waist line will be next. After the waistline, I'll mark the hip line, then the hem line. After marking this, I'm going to rule straight lines over these marked areas. I'm going to take down the quarter waist measurement on the waistline, and I'm going to minus 1 from the quarter waist measurement. Kindly note that if you're working with a regular fabric that is not stretchy, you don't have to minus anything from your measurements. I'm also going to mark down the quarter hip measurement and minus 1 as well. For the hemline, I'm going to minus 1.5 inches from the quarter hip measurements. For the underbust, I'm also going to mark the quarter measurement of it, and I'll also minus 1 inch from the measurements. Then I will connect all of these points that I have marked. After connecting this, I'm going to bring in the back piece, and I'll lay the front one over it so that I can cut both of them together. At the center back, I left about 1 inch there. Once I'm done arranging this, I'll go to the starting point line and I'm going to mark down the neck depth. I'll be using 1 inch for this back piece, so I'll just connect this to meet with the neckline. After that, I'm going to extend this neckline to meet with the 1 inch at the center back. Then I'll go ahead and cut out this pattern. When you want to cut the front neckline, Separate the front and the back so that you do not cut both the front and the back together. Next, I'm going to open up the center back. So we'll have two pieces of the center back. I actually wanted my slit opening to start from this dress, but I later changed my mind since the hem is stretchy. But if you're making use of a non-stretchy fabric, then do not close the back to the hemline. Next, I'm going to close this up with my stitches. After that, I'm going to bring in the front one and lay it over the back like this. Then I'll stitch the shoulders of the front to the shoulders of the back. So I'm gonna head to stitch the center back and the shoulders. So this is what we have here. You can see there's no slits at the neckline because this is stretchy. For a non-stretchy fabric, you'll need a zipper at the center back. The next is to sew the sides together. I'll sew this side as well as the other side. I'm gonna head to sew this, and this is what it looks like. I'll quickly turn this to the right side so you see what the right side looks like. I'll be piping the neckline and the armhole. So this is the strap that I'll be using for that. The width of the strap is 1.5 inches. So I'm going to fold it into two and place it on the wrong side of this dress. Then I'm going to sew over this round the neckline. Once I'm done with the neckline, I will do the same for the armholes. So I've gone ahead to sew this. On the right side, this is what it looks like. Afterwards, I'll go ahead and notch all the areas that I've sewn. After notching, I will trim off the excess. I'm done notching and trimming. The next is to fold this strap to the right side of the neckline. So I'm just going to fold this and pin it down. And then I'm going to sew over this. I'll do the same thing for both armholes. I'm going to fold this strap to the right side and sew over them like so. Next is to draft out our circle. So I'm going to be using a paper for the drafting. So this is a paper I'll be using. I'm going to fold this into two, then into four. So from this tip, I'm going to come down by 2 inches. Then I'm going to mark 0.5 for the seam. After marking, I'll go ahead and connect all these points. Once I'm done connecting, I'm just going to cut this out. Here we have our circle. So this is what I would use to cut out the Ankara fabrics. And this is one of the Ankara that I'll be making use of. I'll just place a circle over it and go ahead to cut around this. I cut 2 of these so that one of these Ankara will be used as the facing. So I've gone ahead to cut out all the Ankara fabrics that I'll be making use of for this dress. And I also cut out their facing as well. I'm going to bring in my stay and I'll be ironing all these fabrics onto this stay for extra hold. So I'm going to lay all of the facing onto this stay. Once I'm done laying out all the facing onto the stay, I'll go ahead and iron this. After ironing, I'll cut each one out. This is the main dress here. I've gone ahead to complete the piping of the neckline and the armholes. And these are the Ankara fabrics. I've ironed the stay to each one of the facing and I've also cut them out. To sew this, I'm going to place the main fabric over the facing, right side facing right side, and I'm going to measure 1 inch out. This will be for the opening. So from one end of the 1 inch, I'm just going to mark out my seam allowance to meet the other end of the 1 inch. So you see what it looks like. I'm not going to sew this part, which is the 1 inch opening, but I will sew the other area. So I'll go ahead and sew everything. And here we are. I'm done sewing this. You can see the opening. I'll quickly use one of these to show you how I was able to turn this out. I'll be making use of this one. Here is the opening that I have, which is the 1 inch. You can see I didn't sew this part close. So once I'm done sewing, I would just cut this through towards the stitching line. I won't get to the stitching line. So once I've cut that through, I will just use that same opening to turn this. After turning, I would iron all of these. Here is the strap that I will use to pipe the Ankara at the back of this dress. It is 2 inches wide and the length I just cut out 13 inches. I'm gonna be trimming this later on. It will also serve as the slit opening for the back. I've ironed this out into a bias. I first folded this into 2, then I folded one end to the center and the other end to the center. Next, I'm going to bring both of them together like this, right side facing right side. So I'm going to sew from the top down to 2 inches mark. I'm going to measure 2 inches from the top here. So I'm just going to sew directly on the center of the straps. I've gone ahead to sew this, and this is what we have here. This is where I've just sewn. I will just fold this inward. So this is the back slit. Note that if you are using a non-stretchy fabric, then your slit opening would extend to the main dress. I've gone ahead to iron all of these Ankara fabrics. So I'm going to be folding all the openings inward and I will stitch on those openings. But I won't do that for 6 of this. I'll keep 2 aside for the upper part of this dress and 4 for the lower part of the back dress. The reason I won't tuck in the opening of this safe space is so that I can use them as the seam when joining them to this back slits and also when closing up the upper parts. When we get there, you understand what I'm talking about. This slit opening will be positioned at the center back of this dress. So I'll go ahead and arrange how I want this fabric to be placed. For the lower parts, I have 2 layers, and for the upper part, I have just 1. So if you have watched this video to this very point and you are yet to subscribe, please subscribe now, to like and share this video. Do not forget to turn your notification bell on. After arranging, I'm just going to stitch one fabric to the other. You can hand stitch or you can use your machine to do that. So I'm done stitching this, and this is the upper part and this one is for the lower part. So I'm just going to fold this so we have our center back facing us. Then I'm going to bring in the center back slit. From the top of this slit, I'm going to come down by 3 inches and mark that down. I'm going to take this Ankara fabric and tuck it into this back slit, starting from the 3 inches that I marked. I'll do the same for all the other 3. Then I'll take this to the sewing machine and sew from top downward. When I get here, I'll just quickly trim this off and fold this edge inward. So I've gone ahead to stitch the back slit, and this is what we have here. Next, I'm going to measure from the shoulder of the main dress downward 5 inches. I'll come down by 5 inches here as well, and I'm going to connect this straight from one armhole to the other. I'll turn the back and I'll also measure down 5 inches. After measuring down these 5 inches, I'm going to connect them using a straight line. I'm going to bring in the Ankara patchwork for the upper part and I'll fold that into 2. Next, I'll fold this dress into 2 as well so I can get the midpoint of the front space. Once I get the midpoint, I'm going to mark that area down on the line that I have just drawn. Afterwards, I'll place this patchwork onto this line. Let the midpoint of the patchwork be on the midpoint of the main dress. So I'll pin this down and turn this dress to the back side. At the back, I'm going to tuck this opening inward, then also fit this opening of the other Ankara into the one that I've just tucked inward. Once I get to the machine, I'm going to stitch over this area before stitching onto the main dress. Now that the up is fixed, let's move to the down part. I'm going to fold the hem of this dress, but before I fold, I'm going to attach the back slit opening to it, and I will fold everything together. It's just the normal way you fold the hem of your dress, but this time around the slit opening is attached to it. So just ensure that the stitching line of the slit opening aligns with the stitching line of the center back. Afterwards, fold it inward and sew. I've gone ahead to stitch this upper Ankara patchwork onto the main dress, and I've also folded the hem of this base. So this is what it looks like with the slit at the back. Next, I'm going to stitch the hem of the main dress onto each of this patchwork. Since this fabric is stretchy, the main dress is smaller than the patchwork that I have here. So when stitching, I'm going to stretch this out a little so that it can meet up with the width of my patchwork. So first off, I'm just going to pin side of the patchwork to the side of the main dress, middle of the patchwork to the middle of the main dress. So when I'm stretching this, I'm going to stretch evenly. Here is the finished work of this gorgeous dress. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next tutorial.